Welcome back to another video. It is 8:05 a.m. Pacific time on October 6th, Tuesday, 2020. Here's your financial update. I am looking at my portfolio off screen for my stocks. I am down 0.75% today, but up 0.6% overall for the week. Looking at 6% entirely for the month. 11% for the last 3 months, so pretty good. Not a big deal. Tesla's down, Apple's down, but other things are up. But in general, Nasdaq is up, Dow Jones and S&P 500 are up. So not a bad day. Maybe just a little bit of a sell-off from yesterday's spike, because when the financial world realized that Trump was fine, confidence in the stock market went up. But in today's news, we got a few articles as usual, and I wanted to read this one. Bitcoin unlikely to replace the US dollar as a global reserve currency. Unlikely, so bearish for crypto. Good for the US dollar, I suppose. I've always been watching the status of the US dollar in regards to it being the world's reserve currency. Now, what does that mean? If you don't know, other countries, when they negotiate financial deals with each other and pay each other, they use dollars. For example, Iran is going to do a deal with Russia. They use US dollars to make that deal for the most part. Or Venezuela doing a deal with some other country. Countries basically use the dollar. Like, the dollar is what everyone uses mostly. Other countries' currencies have had way too many problems. Not that the US dollar is perfect. And I mean, terrorism is done in the US dollar, drug cartels, everything's done in the dollar, right? A lot of people have been speculating with the recent announcement of printing the dollar and the kind of decline of the US empire that we clearly see happening, that the dollar will eventually be replaced. But we'll see. Anyway, I wanted to read this article because a lot of people have been thinking that Bitcoin could replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. This gentleman says it's unlikely. Bitcoin is unlikely to replace the greenback as a global reserve currency anytime soon, according to one of the most highly regarded analysts in foreign exchange. Quote, backing the dollar is the world's biggest, deepest, and most transparent government bond market. Mark Chandler, chief market strategist at Bannockburn Global Forex and author of the book Making Sense of the Dollar, told CoinDesk in a video chat on Wednesday. Quote, I just don't know how Bitcoin can replace the greenback from that viewpoint. A global reserve currency is the one that facilitates cross-border trade, including investments and international debt obligations. Global central banks hold reserve currencies to help protect against major swings in foreign exchange rates, as well as the conduct of monetary policy. The US dollar has been the primary reserve currency since 1944, so even before the war ended. Wow. And investors tend to park funds in dollar-denominated assets or hold dollars during times of stress in the global economy. Wow, so it's almost like the world, or the central banking world, knew that the U.S. was going to win World War II a year ahead of time. Coincidence? Anyway, let me continue. For instance, the U.S. dollar index, which tracks the greenback's value against a basket of other major fiat currencies, rose from 94.65 to 103 in mid-March as global equities tanked on coronavirus-induced recession fears. Some analysts, however, foresee markets losing confidence in the dollar over the next few years. I am one of these people. That's because the Federal Reserve has pumped trillions of dollars of liquidity into the financial system over the past decade and is likely to continue printing money at an elevated pace for some time. The central bank's balance sheet has expanded from $905 million to over $7 trillion in the past 9 years. Wow. According to the St. Louis Fed, it has grown by more than $4 trillion in the past 5 months as the Fed rolled out emergency liquidity programs to counter the economic toll of the CV, while ramping up monthly asset purchases in a process known as quantitative easing. Yes, printing money. Quote, the U.S. dollar is on the brink of losing its position of the world's global reserve as inflation concerns the U.S. grow, Goldman Sachs said in July. While the investment bank speculates that gold could replace the dollar, the crypto community contends that Bitcoin, with its deflationary monetary policy, is the best alternative to the dollar. I mean, gold is somewhat deflationary as well, except if we find a bunch more. You know, if we start mining asteroids and triple the supply of gold in our known solar system, that'll be not good for the price of gold. Bitcoin's pace of supply expansion is reduced by 50% every 4 years via a process called mining reward halving, and that just recently happened maybe 90 days ago. At inception, each Bitcoin block was worth 50 Bitcoin. As of now, per block reward is 6.25 BTC, down from 12.5 prior to May 12th. Bitcoin's tapering supply growth, while the Fed has increased dollars, is a large reason why many in the crypto markets have been long predicting the dollar's collapse and Bitcoin's rise as a global reserve. However, such predictions often neglect that countries do not just accumulate dollars but also buy U.S. government bonds. Central banks don't just hold dollars, they hold U.S. treasuries. That's what corporations and large institutions do. The other thing is, man, like Bitcoin really does require infrastructure to operate. Like if we go back to the Stone Age tomorrow because, the world undergoes a nuclear winter, Bitcoin's going to be worthless. That's where gold really shines. No pun intended. I'm not going to read this part about why countries buy U.S. Treasury bonds. That's not really necessary. I will read, dollar has withered a bigger sell-off in the past. The U.S. dollar index fell by 10% to a 16-month low of 101.75 in the mid-March to mid-August period. The slide, coupled with the Federal Reserve's recent decision to adopt a more flexible approach to controlling inflation, has bolstered fears of the dollar's collapse as a reserve currency. However, the dollar has suffered bigger sell-offs in the past and still maintained its reserve status. It's good to know. For instance, the index, which rose sharply from 77 to 89 in the 7 months following the collapse of the Lehman Brothers in 2008, reversed gains and fell back. So I'm not even going to read the rest. Basically, it just says this has happened before and it's been worse, and the world reserve currency status did not end for the U.S. dollar. Dollar sell-off is likely to continue. The dollar bounced in September, ending a 6-month losing trend, even though the Fed adopted a more flexible approach to controlling inflation at the end of August. According to Chandler, the dollar's bounce has got more to do with technical factors. The currency looked oversold against majors, and bullish positioning in the Euro-USD bracket had reached extremes in August. As a result, a minor bounce was overdue and was amplified by expectations for more monetary easing by the European Central Bank. The Fed has created more room for itself to keep interest rates low for a longer period of time by signaling a willingness to tolerate above target inflation, which was 2% for some time, at least 3 years, right? As such, the path of least resistance for the dollar is to the downside unless other central banks follow the Fed's path. With the dollar looking weaker, recent uptrends in Bitcoin, gold, and assets denominated in the greenback could soon resume. However, if Chandler is correct, the dollar is likely to prevail as the world's global reserve currency. Interesting. Okay, don't need that. Bitcoin price to hit 100,000 by 2025, says a Bloomberg market analyst. These kinds of bullish price predictions are always fun to read about. So let's see what this one has to say. Bloomberg Intelligence senior commodity strategist Mike McGlone has predicted Bitcoin price to top 100K in 2025. BTC, he says, has a habit of adding zeros since 2011, and this will continue in the future, albeit at a slower pace. I agree. The patterns are pretty clear. The world's first crypto, Bitcoin, could have a $100,000 price tag 5 years from now, Bloomberg senior commodity strategist Mike McGlone said. BTC has an illustrious history of adding more zeros to its value since 2011. This trend could continue well into the future. Also, the first cryptocurrency could attain a $14,000 price by the end of this year. Bitcoin is on track for 100,000 in 2025. I'm just kind of, yeah, okay. Whatever. It's all technical analysis. I have heard about the $14,000 by year end, which is really bullish. And this is them looking at charts and making these claims. Let's not get into it. It's pretty boring. In less boring news, John McAfee has been arrested. U.S. criminal charges in Spain. So that's funny. John McAfee, the 74-year-old software magnate turned crypto bull, has been arrested in Spain on allegations of tax evasion. Wow. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, his extradition to the U.S. is pending. Bro, you should have gone to Greece. You should have gone to New Zealand. If they're going to extradite you, you chose the wrong country. But maybe he didn't do anything wrong, or at least didn't think he did. On Monday, DOJ prosecutors unsealed a criminal indictment against McAfee, who faces charges of tax evasion and willful failure to file tax returns that could land him behind bars for over 5 years if convicted. The announcement comes the same day the U.S. SEC sued McAfee for allegedly pumping initial coin offerings without disclosing he was being paid to do so. I didn't know that he was being paid, but I definitely remember he was basically pushing a random coin that he liked every day, and they were all, for the most part, garbage. McAfee allegedly received Bitcoin and Ethereum worth more than $11.6 million. Wow, for promoting 7 ICOs in 2017 and 18. He also allegedly received $11.5 million in the promoted tokens. The SEC does not name the projects in the suit. The SEC outlined the securities violations in a 55-page complaint filed Monday in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. According to the SEC, McAfee raised a total of $23.2 million from projects, which raised a cumulative $41 million. McAfee's extravagant posts, such as tweeting predictions about Bitcoin price increases and promising to eat my dick on national television if such predictions did not pan out, generated an enormous amount of publicity. I'm pretty sure he actually is still needing to do that. I'm pretty sure he owes us a de-munching session on national TV. The SEC is seeking civil penalties and an order prohibiting McAfee from serving as a public officer again in the future. The SEC also sued McAfee's personal security guard, Jimmy Gale Watson, in the complaint. Well, that's weird. I don't know why they did that. Wonder what he has to do with it. I don't know if you guys know John McAfee. He's kind of like this crazy bad boy of the tech world, but he's older, right? Like McAfee Antivirus is his. That company was sold. I don't know if he was ousted, but that's what it's named after. It's named after him. He's a tech entrepreneur, but he hasn't really been doing that stuff for a long time. He's just been like doing coke on hookers' titties, like filming it. That's the kind of guy he is. He was definitely pumping shitty coins, and I guess because those are deemed securities, he's in big trouble now. Whatever you're doing, you don't want to fuck with the SEC. It isn't worth it, I suppose. So let's check out some price news. Let's actually look at the map first. It's just kind of prettier. Woo! Look at that. Sea of red. Everything's down just a little bit, with the exception of a few, but not too big. And if we look at the price chart, it's not like there's huge losses all across the board. Just a little bit of downward stuff. Let's check. Let's scroll down all the way to the... V-Chain's down bigly. In fact... if it dips under a penny, I might pick some more up. I really do like VeChain. I never heard of Aave. Lend, maybe that's a DeFi coin. It's down majorly. Yearn Finance, again, dropping. I think yesterday the price was 19 something. Now it's 17 something. I really hope y'all who had this bought it and sold it when it was in the 30,000s, because it was clearly a pump. I don't know what this is, but it's down big time. Yeah. Algorand, Uniswap is down 25%. Oh, that was a hot coin a week ago. So hopefully no one got left holding the bag, but somebody's holding it. Let's check out gold and precious metals prices. They're dipping just a little bit, but they're more or less where they were yesterday. Gold price holding above 1900 as Fed's Powell sees risk of doing too little. The gold market is holding on to critical support above 1900 an ounce, but is struggling to find any direction as Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that the economic recovery remains uncertain as the 19 pandemic spreads unabated. Whatever. Striking a slightly optimistic tone, Powell said at the National Association for Business Economics virtual annual meeting that the economic recovery has progressed quickly than expected. However, he added that the road to recovery remains precarious. The outlook remains highly uncertain, in part because it depends on controlling the spread and effects of the virus. There is a risk that the rapid initial gains from reopening may transition to a longer than expected slog back to full recovery as some segments struggle with the pandemic's continued fallout. Positive for the gold market, Powell said that the policy risks in financial markets are asymmetrical. Quote, too little support would lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses, he said. By contrast, the risks of overdoing it seem for now to be smaller. Even if policy actions ultimately prove to be greater than needed, they will not go to waste. The recovery will be stronger and move faster if monetary policy and fiscal policy continue to work side by side to provide support to the economy until it is clearly out of the woods. The gold market was seeing some modest selling pressure ahead of Powell's comments, and the market has regained some of its lost ground, but the rally has been moderate. December gold futures last traded at $19.20 an ounce. Blah, blah, blah. We know. We get it. Still bullish on precious metals. They're printing your money away, folks. They're printing it away. Unless we get into a very deflationary position, I'm starting to think the 33-33-33 rule is probably the safest bet right now. 33% cash assets, 33% gold and crypto assets, 33% stocks. Maybe less on the stock side. That looks the most prone for a crash, to be honest. Anyway, that's your financial update for this day. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.